The GallowgateShots podcast is sponsored by Tyre Spot, the North East's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube and podcast channel. Welcome back to another match preview. We are here to do the preview for the Leicester game. It's on Saturday, 14th of December, 3 p.m. kickoff, so it's not on your telly, unfortunately, so you'll have to get it on Dodgy if you haven't got a ticket to the ground, if you didn't win the ballot. And let's be honest, who has won a ballot this season? Not me.
Not me.
It's Scott here. And this week I'm joined by Daryl, Andy, and Nichol. And boys, the football's been shite, but we're still going to do a match preview. How's everyone doing? I'm actually going to ask how he's doing. That's how much I don't want to talk about the football, even though it's a preview. How is everyone doing this week? Let's hold it up for a bit. I'm back. I even skipped last week. That's how bad the football's been. But how's everyone doing?
I'm all right,
We all good.
bad.
We all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
We're ready to talk football.
No.
I'm glad to be on this side of a preview again because I had too much power last week.
I did.
Clicking all the buttons.
You used the Fulham button, I saw.
Yeah, I know.
You
I could just see Santiago staring me out the whole time. I had to do it.
There he is. He's back. Yes. Yeah.
It's a right
Anyway,
thing.
we'll get on with it because, we may as well. Yes, it is at St. James's. It's 3 p.m. on Saturday, the 14th of December, and it's against Leicester City. They're not doing too well this season, Leicester. 14th. Sorry, they're not 14th in the league. They're 16th in the league on 14 points. I read me notes the wrong way around there. 3 wins, 5 draws, 7 defeats, but they are on a new manager bounce with good old Ruud van Nistelrooy taking over the reins. He left Man United. Did he leave? Just didn't get kept on, did he?
Parted
I
ways.
think that's what happened. Well, he parted ways, after Ten Hag got the boot. And
Mutual disagreement.
him and McLaren parted like the sea. McLaren went to Jamaica and Van Nistelrooy went to Leicester. I don't know who got the short straw there. Anyways, Leicester have 21 goals scored, 30 goals conceded. That gives them a -9 goal difference. Almost as good as ours, that. But anyway, I've got some commentator stats before we get started with everything. Here we go. Strap yourselves in. These aren't great. Newcastle have won just 1 of their last 7 Premier League home games against Leicester. It's 1 draw and 5 defeats. Although the 2 times that we've avoided defeat have been under Eddie Howe. So there is a silver lining to that stat. Leicester have won 6 Premier League away games against Newcastle, more than they have versus any other opponent. 5 of those victories have come in the last 7 visits to St. James's Park. Those 2 stats kind of counteract each other. Newcastle have lost just 1 of the last 21 Premier League meetings with promoted sides. That's 12 wins, 8 draws, and obviously we know the defeat was last season 1-0 at Luton Town. And this is a killer of a stat. This one, I did like this one, but it's not good in our books. This is Ruud van Nistelrooy's 7th game in charge of a Premier League side in all competitions this season. Obviously, that would be a lot of his time spent at Man U, but it'll be his first away game, so we'll see how he deals, not in front of a home crowd. In his playing career, the Dutchman played 5 games at St. James's Park and scored in every single one. That is a stat that is matched from a scoring ratio point of view by a player at a venue by none other than Leicester City's own Jamie Vardy. Not at St. James's, though. It's at the Hawthorns, but still. Bit of an interesting stat, that, because he's now his player. And there we go. And like I said, it wasn't nice reading, but we haven't been doing too well at the minute. Nichol, mate, you've been taking a little look into Leicester. They are on a bit of a new manager bounce, but they haven't been doing great, and probably the reason why they've got a new manager. But how have they been doing this season? Tell us all about Leicester City.
Yeah, so the last 5, they've won 1, drew 1, but lost 3. Since Ruud's come in, things have improved. So they beat West Ham 4-1 in his first game, fully in charge at home, and then drew 2-2 with
We
Brighton.
know from when we played them, that's a tough ask beating West Ham.
Yeah.
Not many teams must have done that.
Yeah, and then drew with Brighton last weekend, so they're not doing too badly. They've got a few injuries and suspensions at the moment, particularly in the middle of midfield. So Samare is is suspended after picking up too many yellow cards, and Wilfred Ndidi's out. I think he got injured in the last game against Brighton. So probably expecting a midfield partnership of Oliver Skipp and Harry Winks in the middle for them. In defence, we've got James Justin, Connor Cody, Vestergaard, and Christensen. And then going forward, as you mentioned, Jamie Vardy's the main man up front, and he's normally supported by McAtee and Jordan Ayew, who used to play at Crystal Palace. But they have got
still doing the rounds, Jordan Ayew. I know Jamie Vardy's still doing the rounds, but Jordan, I remember we were linked, I think, with Jordan Ayew when he first was on the scene in the Premier League all those years ago.
And they've also got Buonanotte and Edouard coming back from injury. I think Buonanotte might come back into the 11 because he's probably one of the main threats going forward. But yeah, as you've said in the early stages of the video, that they're not doing too great, and they probably are. Well, they are going to be in a relegation zone, for most of this season, and they'll be in a battle until the end, I think. And I think they'll do well to stay up, to be honest. But we'll see how they do under Rude.
Yeah, it's interesting that Edouard. I remember Celtic they bought him from, wasn't it, Daryl? He was always a football manager. The Palace signed him, then they've got him from Palace. He was always a football manager favourite. One of those ones that you sign unknown, as they say, and then he scores loads of goals, and it hasn't quite worked out for him in the Premier League. But hopefully he can get his game picked up. I think he's had a couple of injuries, which hasn't done him too nicely. But big lads. I mean, you've got him. You've got Jamie Vardy, who's not maybe he's got the pace he's got, but he obviously knows where the goal is. You can never write him off for a goal, and obviously he's the penalty taker as well, if I understand correctly. They've got goal scoring threats all over the park.
I mean, even if Jamie Vardy is touching on 62 now, he's still going to be faster than our backline, isn't he?
Bottle of blue wicket in one hand.
Yeah,
he's gyro in the
other. He still possesses a bit of pace that can cause any defence trouble if he can, because he plays on the last man, so he just needs that one ball over the top, and he was crucial as Leicester came back from 2-0 down against Brighton last weekend to get that draw. He is their talisman, so he's key man to watch out for in their attack. The interesting one for me is that the potential midfield pairing Skipp and Nichol and Harry Winks, which I'm sure a lot of Spurs fans will be looking at that and thinking, what the hell's going on there? It's two former Spurs players who couldn't quite make the mark at White Hart Lane or the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or whatever. They've moved on and they've come to Leicester and they're going to form a partnership in that midfield. I think if you look at it on paper, especially if they're going to be the central midfield partnership, we technically should have more than that. But again, our inconsistency, as I'm sure we'll get onto, is a massive problem at the moment.
Let's not beat around the bush. Our midfield should absolutely destroy them. We're being a bit kind on them here. They've been awful this season, Leicester. One of the most disappointing promotion sides ever, and they've really kind of put it in the microscope how big the gap is between the Championship and the Premier League this year. They've had zero identity, and I actually like Steve Cooper, but they're just a bit of an aging squad. And you go through the partnership there, and there is no reason why we can't completely dominate the midfield.
They had that FFP debacle, though, didn't they? Where it was like, if you get promoted, you're going to face an instant point deduction because you've spent too much in the Championship. I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but I remember didn't they go to court, or wasn't it like a legal battle?
Yeah, they must have had some settled to win that.
Because FFP says you can't spend it at the bottom of the league and you can't spend it at the top of the league. So where can you spend it? It's just pointless.
You can't spend it unless you're Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, or Man United.
Man City's up to 130,
isn't it? So, there we go.
I think the one thing that we haven't mentioned as well is Connor Cody plays in central defence for them. So there's an experienced head in there alongside potentially a Wout Fass or whoever else is in there who can play in there. But I think Conor Cody's been one of the standout names mentioned since Ruud Gullit came in those few weeks that he's been in charge.
Ruud Gullit.
Ruud Gullit, sorry.
Ruud
Van
Gullit.
Nistelrooy, sorry.
Blimey,
They've had
Van
another
That's a
Nistelrooy.
change.
name I've not heard for a
They
long
are.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's go for new manager bounce every game.
Still sort of the right nationality anyway, but yeah, Ruud Van Nistelrooy. Since he came in, he's used Conor Cody quite well in those 2 games. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But again, you know, when you look at, as Andy said, the midfield should be all over them really. And I think that in terms of the defense versus attack, again, if we can match our consistency and show a bit of form at home, then theoretically we should actually have too much for the defense as well, and we should be able to get some goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you know, speaking of defenses, Andy, obviously, you know, we talked about Jamie Vardy and maybe his slow enough pace, but he is going to come up against maybe 2 of the slower defense in the Premier League with Sharon Byrne. It could play into his hands, that, and they could maybe start Jamie Vardy, where I don't think they've been starting him much this season, apart from when there's been injuries. So that could force their hand. They may think, oh well, maybe we'll give Vardy a start because, you know, we've got not an aging defense, but we've got not a pacey defense, if you will.
Yeah, I think at the start Vardy wasn't straight back in there, but he's sort of that player who, when the going gets tough, you put him in there and he'll do you a job. He's that player. I was going to compare Longstaff really, just purely because he's one of these 7 out of 10 players all the time. But up front, he'll just get you a goal. And as we saw in the sort of earlier parts in the season, scoring goals is everything, and we couldn't do that. And in terms of our defence, yeah, the Eddie Howe defence thing is just so bizarre. We went from being an absolute shambles under Steve Bruce to suddenly being the best defence in the league under Eddie Howe, to then being a bit flaky, to then looking quite good again. And now it's just like the goalkeeper for Brentford's getting assists against us. So I've got no idea what's going on with the defence. But I mean, Jamie Vardy would have been watching that Brentford game thinking, all I need to do is stand behind Fabian Schär and he'll just miss the ball. That's how bad the defence looks at the minute. So it's one of these games where you really do have to fancy us to create chances and score goals. We've just got to solidify it at the other end. There's been a few games recently where obviously we've been really poor, but games where if we didn't concede that goal against Palace, we win that game. If we were a bit more resilient against Liverpool, we win that game. And obviously the game we've just had, we scored plenty of goals away from home at a really tough place, and then we ship so many the other end. So if you've got to keep players like Vardy quiet, they've got that Bavadidi who's a good player, keep him quiet. You've just got to be solid, and the chances will come at the other end. We've just got to get it right.
Yeah, obviously we've been a little bit negative, Nichol, towards Newcastle so far, but you know, put a little bit of positivity our way. As Andy's mentioned, if you look at it on paper, and I know it's on paper, but still, we should have enough, or you would expect us to have enough to see Leicester off here. And I'm not saying we definitely will. There's obviously no easy games in the Premier League, and anything can happen. They are still on this new manager bounce. And, you know, I quite like Leicester as a side. I think, you know, what they did, I want to say a few years ago, it's more than a few years ago, but, you know, when they did the unthinkable and won the league, it was unfortunate that what happened when they actually did go down. They probably shouldn't have went down that season. But, you know, you just like to think we should have just that extra level of quality in the side to see this team off.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. It's all there for us, isn't it? You know, newly promoted team, we're at home, and we've got a lot of attacking threat. And as Andy's just said, we can score goals. It's just about taking our chances and keeping out any counter attacks at the other end. I think that's my only concern really for Saturday, is if we're really, you know, if they're in a low block and we do struggle against a low block, if we're really pushing that, them on the break is the only thing that really worries me about them, with their pace. So we just got to be wary of that. So I was going to say maybe Longstaff will come back in, but I actually think he'll bring Tonali back in, and I think we'll see a similar side to what we did against Liverpool last Wednesday. I think he won't. I mean, he can't have a second thought of, I've got the cup game on Wednesday, because he actually needs to win this one as well. Eddie Howe I'm talking about here, because unfortunately the pressure is mounting a little bit in the fan base. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it is mounting a little bit, and it's just the way it goes in football. So he does need to win. It's a pretty big game for him, I would say, because if they don't pick something up on on Saturday at home against a newly promoted side, then you know what it's going to be like at full time in the ground and obviously on social media as well.
It feels like a bit of a Mike Ashley game, doesn't it? Into like one of these old-fashioned, we've got to beat a relegation side at home, or the fan base is going to turn. It feels like it's been so long since we've had to do that, but it's just mad that we're in that situation, isn't it?
It's the next two Premier League games because you're playing the two of the promoted sides. You've got Leicester and then you've got Ipswich back to back. The expectation is 6 points. You can't expect anything less than that, and and that means no disrespect at all to Leicester or Ipswich. And I know this isn't the Ipswich preview, but you would expect nothing more. I mean, like I say, Leicester are in 16th. They haven't been great this season. Ipswich, I don't think have won yet this season.
They haven't.
I mean, Dr. Newcastle, we'll see you now, and all that's going to happen. But I don't think any Newcastle fan would expect anything less than 6 points, really. And realistically,
you know what? At this stage, I'd take 4. Win on Saturday and a point away. I'd take that. I would take that.
But with the cup game in the middle,
yeah,
you've got to think what's the priority here. And
well, that's it. If you beat Leicester, you get through against Brentford, and you draw against Ipswich. That's suddenly 3 games unbeaten, and things are looking a little bit better.
That's a good week. Yeah, that's a good
week. Yeah, exactly. Week. Yeah. But got to get this one out of the way first.
Yeah, and
let's do that.
What I would add to that as well is, we're talking about the likes of Tonali coming in, and we have to consider again, we come into the mini feature that is card watch, because we now have 3 players, 1 yellow card away from the ban, and they are, as we already know, Joe Linton and Shea are on that list, but we can now add Tonali onto that list as well, so there's a potential to miss him for a game as well if things don't go right, and we can't really
all right for Eddie Howe. He seems to drop him every other game. So
it
doesn't matter.
And we can't really afford to lose to Leicester, because if we do, then it brings Leicester even closer to us. And again, the potential for us to maybe slip down the table even further. And it's one thing, and as Nichol mentioned, that it's starting to sway opinion, and there's starting to be a bit of a feel about Eddie Howe in the negative sense. And I mean, if that starts to happen, and if that result happens on Saturday, we're going to be in big trouble, and Eddie's going to be under so much pressure to get a further 2 results in the next week. And you'd rather
be a
get
point of no return for some fans.
Yeah, it will. Yeah. It really will.
It will be, and unfortunately, it could even be for some of the owners as well. And then you're entering Jose Mourinho territory, and nobody needs that this time of year. Daryl, mate, I'll stick with you. Obviously, we saw some changes at the game just past there. A lot of it, well, we were told it was for fitness purposes. Anthony Gordon was rested, Tonali was rested. There was some changes. I don't want to say it didn't work, but obviously it didn't work because of the way the game folded out. But we did score 2 goals. We did, put up a bit of a fight that first half. It felt a bit in the second half. This isn't a reaction to that game by any stretch of the imagination, but are we expecting a return to, like what Nichol said, to the Liverpool lineup and back to that well, I can't even say normality because the squad's changed so much over the past couple of games, but are we expecting a best 11 for this, or will there be one eye on the cup game because that's also an important fixture?
I don't think Eddie's got a choice but to go for his best 11, to be fair. The pressure that is now mounting is going to sway that decision. And, the team that the conundrum that faced him ahead of Brentford was, does he rest the players and then bring them on for half an hour? Or does he give them the first hour and then take them off to rest them? Yeah. And to me, I think in my head, I would have gone with the latter, and I would have had them on from the start and given them an hour before, then taking them off early to give them a chance to rest up there. Obviously, that didn't necessarily cause us any damage in the first half to a point, because we actually came out at that level, coming back into the game twice with 2.
Could have argued we should have been 3-2 up.
Yeah, exactly. We played pretty well with that lineup and got 2 really, really good goals. And again, for me, I think, like I say, I would have probably started with those players that he wanted to rest and then taken them off. But it's past that now. That game's been and gone. So, but for me, I think he has really no choice but to go strongest 11 possible.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy, mate, quickly from you, in terms of the striking scenario, obviously there's been questions asked of Alexander Isak and his, I don't want to say laziness, but his attitude in a game when things aren't going our way. Is Eddie Howe the type of manager to pick up on that sort of thing and maybe drop a player because of that? Obviously, Callum Wilson's back fit. You've got, well, I won't say Osula because according to Eddie Howe, he's not a striker. If you sitting on the bench, and we don't have one on the bench, but would Eddie Howe pick up on that attitude that's happening and maybe he's want to set an example and maybe drop a player and play Callum Wilson? Is this the sort of game that maybe would suit Callum Wilson more than
Yeah,
Isak?
yeah, possibly. I mean, just taking the first point, I don't think Isak has an attitude personally. I get what people mean now. He's quite expressive, but I think a lot of strikers are kind of divas in that way. They like to, because strikers obviously traditionally don't really get involved. They're there to put the ball away. And I'd actually prefer a player to throw his arms up and point the finger a little bit and have a bit of fight rather than just sort of lazily coast around. And I think Howard, Howe's a really good manager, and I think he'll have plenty. If there was a problem with Isak, we would know about it, I think. But I personally just think he just wants better for the team, like all of them do. And when we saw Bruno's interview as well. So no, but I think this is the type of game where you need Isak because you're hoping that you're going to dominate the ball, and if you're going to come up against a team playing defensively, you sometimes need someone just to drop deep, beat a player, whatever. But yeah, I think we sometimes forget that Wilson was a really good player for us because he's obviously just a bit of a joke player now. But I wouldn't be that mad if Isak was on the bench and Wilson got a start because ultimately something has to change at some point in the team. Whether that's having someone like Wilson in there just as a more of a proper, not saying that Isak isn't a proper striker, but you know what I mean, just a different sort of player, isn't he?
More of a target man.
Yeah, more of a target man, different type of player. It maybe means that other players can occupy the space as Isak would normally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Isak it'll be a start, and I think what we said before, Liverpool team probably.
Yeah, I do just want to say before anyone comes at me in the comments, I also don't think that about Isak. I'm just asking questions to start conversations here. That's kind of what I have to do to get people to talk. Nichol, mate, we've talked about the defence quite a lot. Is it just horses for courses at this point, and you've got to pick the same four, or is there any changes? Obviously, we saw Lewis Hall came off, and then we moved Tino over to the right with Trippier coming on in the Brentford game. Didn't really work too well. Was that more of a fatigue thing, do you think, and Eddie Howe saving Hall's legs for this game, and it's back to normality, as I've said before? Or do you think he maybe gives Trippier a few minutes in this game?
No, I think it'll be the same four. Yeah, like it has been for the last few games. I don't think Trippier will come back in. I think if he did, it would be for Tino at right back anyway. I think it would be. I think he would keep Hall because I think Hall. I think he seems to be getting better every game. I think this season, Lewis Hall. He obviously struggled a little bit with Mbeumo, but I thought he did quite well against Salah last week. I mean, he still scored 2, but he's unbelievable. More Salah
And assisted 1.
So I wouldn't necessarily think they were Lewis Hall's fault either of the goals really. But yeah, I think it'll be the same four, and we've just got to hope that they can stop Leicester on the break because, as I've said, I think that's what their main threat will be. And yeah, as we've said, Liverpool team, I think he'll go as strong as he can. But although is Jacob Murphy is he gonna keep his place? I don't know because he did okay actually against Brentford, but I wouldn't put him in the strongest 11.
Yeah, I mean, if Gordon's back, is it Gordon and Barnes? Is it Gordon and Joe Linton on the left? Is it, who knows? Does he play Isak on the right like he did against Palace a couple of seasons ago, and Gordon on the left and Wilson down the middle? That might work. We'll see what happens. Daryl, mate, it's well, let's hope it doesn't change this week like it did last week. But it's time to find out who's the man in the middle and his assistant on the VAR. Give us your ref watch for this week.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope we're not going to, like you say, suffer from a short notice change of personnel in the middle of the park like we did at Brentford on Saturday. I don't know why.
Just blame Storm Dara, everyone else.
Well, I might as well because I have no idea why Simon Hooper came in instead of against the reported Tim Robinson. Anyway, so the game on Saturday, the man in the middle is Thomas Bramall from Greater Manchester. Again, I keep saying this. I feel like I keep saying this every week. It's his first Newcastle game of the season. And when I looked into him, he's only done one Premier League game before this this weekend, this season, and that was the Wolves' 2-0 win over Southampton at Molineux back in November. He's done a handful of championship games around that as well, and he actually started his season with a game at the International Stadium in Gateshead in pre-season. But yeah, it's his first Newcastle game this season. He took charge of 3 Newcastle games last season. That was a 2-0 home win against Burnley, the crazy 4-4 draw at home to Luton Town in the February, and then a 2-0 loss at Crystal Palace. His record this season, obviously I mentioned he's only done the 1 Premier League game, so based on his Premier League record this season, that 1 game yielded 5 yellow cards but no reds. VAR for this one, and I feel like I am on repeating it's a bit of Groundhog Day here, but it's
Jared
Gillett again.
Gillett? It's Jared Gillett.
Again.
Best a man can get.
I think he's just camping out at St James's, him.
He might well be, I tell you.
Isn't it Stockley Park?
Oh yeah, good point. I was trying to make a joke.
He's locked himself in the Newcastle United room. I think that's what's happened there. But yeah, it's his 5th VAR appointment of the season for games involving us. Again, after Arsenal at home and the away games at Chelsea, Palace, and Brentford last weekend. It's actually his 5th Newcastle United VAR appointment in the last 8 games. So he's very, very frequent, and he's probably going to be able to do some sort of punditry on us at some point. He's been that frequent with us. And I just find it quite astonishing that he's done that many. He's been that frequently involved in our games in VAR. And they haven't necessarily seen any really major, like, controversial decisions or anything like that. So nothing amiss there, at least. Touch wood. God knows what
some stinking refs though these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's it.
The Brentford keeper got a yellow card for the wind blowing the ball away.
Yeah, the you must be injured, Jared Gillett, because you'd think for the scramble for referees quite obviously having, he would be out there, but to be in VAR for the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, he must have
a job you want, though, isn't it?
Yeah, he must have done something to himself to have a stint in the VAR room. But yeah, we'll see what happens with this one. A mixed bag of results from last season for this man, for Thomas Bramwell, who'll be in the middle of the park on Saturday. So we're going into this with fresh eyes to see what happens this season.
There we go. Who would have thought it would be having a discussion about VAR referees, eh? How times have changed on the GallowgateShots previews. Well, it's that time again. We'll come to the predictions. Nichol, mate, I'm going to come to you first. What are you going for this time?
Come on then, because
it's only because you normally predict a positive result, so I'm going to come for positivity first.
And they never go well, do they?
Doesn't matter.
Right, okay. I don't know where this is coming from, but we're going to win 2-0. Okay. And I was trying to think of a second goal scorer, but I'm not exactly sure.
Why didn't your first goal scorer just get 2?
That's what I'm doing. That is what I'm doing. Alexander Isak going to get both.
Nice.
2-0, and we'll keep a clean sheet. I don't know where that optimism's come from, but we're going to keep a clean sheet.
That usually happens with a 2-0 win. Excellent. Daryl, mate, what are you going for?
Well, I was really not going to pick a defeat, but I've just really got this nagging feeling in the back of my head that it might be a draw, and it's just going to be one of them games where Jamie Vardy's just going to do it, and he's going to get a goal. He'll get that scrappy goal that only he can get, where he just peels off the last man and a ball's played through and he just latches onto it and just puts it away. But I fancy Isak to get one for us at least, and I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw.
No.
I don't like that.
Like that
at all.
Andy, favourite, please.
I think it's going to be similar to that game we had when we secured Champions League qualification against Leicester, where we get the result we want, but it's going to be hairy. I don't think it's going to be the big positive performance we all want, but I do think we'll get the result. And I'm just praying that this is the new starting point. It just feels like we keep saying that, but no one actually wants Eddie Howe to get sacked. We all just want him to fix it. We all just want him to fix it. Obviously, some people are upset more than others, but I just need him to get a win. Because I want him to be the guy that does it for us. I don't want it to be anyone else. Yeah. So I just want him to get it back on track. And like we say, we'll have these next 3 games. Everyone will suddenly be happy again. But yeah, 1-0 win. I'm going to say Big Joe with the goal.
Ooh, nice.
Vamos.
I am quietly confident that we're gonna get a reaction from everyone involved. I also think the crowd are gonna play a big part in this. Just like in the Liverpool game, I didn't see the game live. I was, like I said, I was out, but I did watch it afterwards, and I thought the atmosphere was quite electric. It
was because of how we
PSG.
started the game as well, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It was PSG-esque. It wasn't as good, but it felt like I come through the TV. And I think we'll do it again just because I think everyone realizes the situation we're in. And I think we need to start good to get the crowd to go, oh, actually, no, hang on. We need to get behind everyone. I'm going for a 3-0 win. And I think it's going to be a 2-0 at half-time and then another one in the second half. And I'm going to go for Anthony Gordon to start the proceedings, followed by Joe Linton, and then Alexander Isak will put a nice big Christmas bow on the top of it and seal it up in the second half. Yeah, sorry, Leicester fans, but I cannot not be confident on this one. I think it's we're just gonna get a reaction from whatever happened at Brentford. Yeah. And we'll all be going happy because we'll be wherever that'll probably put us in like third or something. The way this league
That's the way the league is. Yeah,
it won't be. We'll be in 6th or something. But anyway,
put in Europe.
Yeah, we'll be in Europe. Let me know in the comments below, everyone watching, what you think your prediction is going to be. Leicester fans, if you are still watching, if you have been watching, if you're liking what you're hearing, let us know. Let us know how your season's going. What do you think of Ruud van Nistelrooy as a coach? Was he your first choice? Was he somebody that you wanted? Was it a surprise assignment for your managerial role? And how do you think he's doing? I mean, it's only been, was it 3 games, 2 games? Was B's third game going
I
into
thought
it?
they'd get Ranieri back.
Dilly ding, dilly dong. Yeah. Who'd have funked it? Maybe he will. Maybe I don't know. Is this a permanent appointment, Van Nistelrooy, or is it just like a placeholder till the end of the season?
Permanent, I think. Yeah.
Permanent. Well, there you go. Proper. Well, let me know in the comments what you think if you're a Leicester fan, and if you're a Newcastle fan watching this, give us your predictions. Let us know what you think. Anything in the bottom, and if you can't be bothered to do that, just give us your favorite emoji in the bottom as well. Have you bought your Adidas Campus NUFC edition? And if you have, you're wearing them at the weekend and praying for nice, warm, non-rainy weather, so that lovely suede doesn't get ruined. Whatever, just let me know in the comments below. While you're down there, if you want to hit the subscribe button, that would be fantastic. That'll give you all of our videos in your YouTube feed, and if you want to be notified when new videos go live, you can hit the little notification bell, and that'll give you a notification on your device of choice. If you want to go one step further, you can become a member. It's $2.99 a month. That'll give you early access to videos like this one, as well as exclusive access to certain podcasts and content on the channel throughout the season, as well as stuff pre-season as well. Boys, I'm quietly confident on this one. I'm hoping that we come away with 3 points. I just want to win.
I've got nothing left.
Nothing left.
Please win the coin toss as well, Bruno. Please.
Oh yeah,
please. Right.
That was funny. That
2 in a row. The
biggest show of the night, wasn't it?
Fast.
That'll get the crowd going.
Yes, hopefully. Well, we will see. And we will also see us all in the next one. There's a load of match previews coming up. December's got too many football games.
Busy Christmas, isn't it?
Busy Christmas. There's also a canny chatter that we recorded last night that I need to edit and get out there as well. So that's coming up this week, and we're doing a canny chatter Christmas special as well in a couple of weeks as well. So yeah, lots to look forward to from our side. There'll be an Always Smiling Faces podcast, match reactions, and all that good stuff. But we will see you all in the next one. Thanks everybody for watching, lads. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday evening. It is still Wednesday, isn't it? Yes, it is. And we'll see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.